Okay, and here is where it turns into a Sean project.
So when I got the car, it had these little bullet style turn downs. I didn't like the way they looked, no tips, and I hated the way they sounded. Here's what it sounded like. The car was just way too muted for my taste. It had a little rumble to it, but you couldn't hear it at all under acceleration, and I didn't like that. And the seller had thrown in the original exhaust, or had the original muffler with the original tips. Now, I love the way the original tips looked, but they were pretty nasty and dirty off the car. So what I did was polish the tips up and then took those in and had them reinstalled back on the car at Cox Muffler in Lufkin, Texas, and they had it looking good and it sounded better. So now I had the look that I wanted, but even with straight pipes, I didn't have the sound that I wanted, so the saga continued.
So this is a continuation of trying to get the exhaust where I want it on the car. And as you'll recall before, this car came with a factory muffler that was already off the car, and it had a set of like bullet style exhausts. Well, I took those off and just straight piped it and put the factory tips back on them because I like the way the factory tips looked a lot better than the way the previous owner had it, where it was just turned down. But I still don't have the sound that I want, and it turns out it's probably because of the 4 catalytic converters on here. So what I've gotten from Belanger are this set of pipes right here, and this is going to take place of the pre-cats, and it has a high flow cat, and then this pipe here is going to take place of the actual big giant catalytic converter that is right under the door sill. So we're going to take the door sill off and see what we're looking at. And it looks like we've got 1, 2, and open the door, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts to get from the top, and I think there's about 4 bolts on the bottom. So we're going to take all those off and see what we're faced with. Okay, we got all the bolts out. Now let's just give it a little tug. And there it is. There's our side piece. And there is our giant catalytic converter. Look at this. Look how big this is. This is definitely going to be taking some of our sound and performance, but not to fear, because we're bringing it down a little. We are bringing it down. So let's see if we can't get all this 20-year-old rusty bolts off and put the new system on. Well, we've got the driver's side installed. You can see right there where it's coupled up going into the bottom of the manifold. Somewhere in between there is the new catalytic converter up in there, if I can shine it in there. And it goes around. We put a coupler here and then on into the resonator, and that's how we're going to leave it. I did have to remove the holder right here, and I loosened up the holder on the back where the resonator, where the pipe comes out of the resonator and goes around, just to have some wiggle room. But I mean, there is some wrestling involved because 20 years of rusty bolts, but it is not a very difficult job at all. It just takes a little bit of time. So let's get to the other side, and then what we've all been waiting for, see what it sounds like. Well, this is the size difference between the stock catalytic converter on top and the high flow on the bottom. Okay, and here is where it turns into a Sean project. my buddy was helping me, thank you Royce, and he went to take this clamp off and broke the bolt. And after I made fun of him for doing that, I immediately broke the bolt on this one. So we had two broken bolts. Had to get up in there and cut this one out, and then he cut this one out, and we got the first section of this mid pipe up installed with the new clamp, and this one was ready to go. We had gone and gotten another band clamp like this for that, and of course I got the wrong size. So we're gonna have to wait till tomorrow, hopefully, when we get a new clamp and get back on the project. Okay, well, it's actually been a few days because we couldn't find this clamp anywhere, but we ordered it off of Amazon. Thank you, Amazon, for all of my car needs. And here it is, the 2.5 inch, and it's gonna go right here, and this will go right in there, and we are almost done. Let's get this put back together, because I don't know about you, but I'm dying to hear how it sounds. Okay, through the magic of YouTube, it's done instantaneously. We got this side looking just as good as the other one. All of the clamps are tightened up nice and snug. I even remembered to retighten the rear exhaust hanger, so it's in there nice and firm. That baby is not going anywhere. So the moment of truth, what does it sound like? Is it worth it? Let's find out. Well, there it is. So that's what you get with an RT10 if you have the stock manifold and the Belanger mid cats with one high flow cat, the rest straight pipe, going into the stock resonator and muffler delete. So I love it. Still haven't driven it yet, but I'm excited about taking it out on the road and hearing what it sounds like from inside the car. But for now, as far as the garage idle and the nice factory cam, love the way it sounds. So thanks for watching, and be sure and subscribe to 10211 Dodge Viper. Thanks.